What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is my spoiler review for Mortal Kombat 2021. So this movie, I talked about how it was really anticipated, especially me being a really big fan of Mortal Kombat, played all the games ever since Game 1. It was really hard for me at points to watch this, but there were so many moments in this movie that were amazing, and predominantly thanks to Scorpion and Sub-Zero's actors' performances. Hiroyuki Sanada, who played Scorpion, very, very good Japanese actor. He's been in a lot of American films, and just absolutely amazing. And in this movie, he was stellar. Joe Taslim, an amazing martial artist. He really brought the heat in this film. And other than that, Joe Lawson, who played Kano, their performances were stellar. Absolutely stellar, and those three really made this movie. So I talked about how this opened up with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they're in this fight. Sub-Zero and Lin Kuei have invaded Scorpion's clan in Japan and absolutely decimated his clan. You don't really get to see the whole decimation of the clan, but you do see Sub-Zero Bihan kill Scorpion's wife and son. And then the big fight ensues. Scorpion comes and he sees his wife and son dead, frozen, and spiked through with an ice sickle. And so there's this really great fight. It starts out with Scorpion fighting some of the Lin Kuei. He takes all of them out, and then he finds Bihan. And then there's an amazing sequence between those two where eventually, well, as you know in the story, if you know anything about Mortal Kombat, Sub-Zero kills Scorpion. And so here, Hanzo Hasashi, who is actually Scorpion, he looks up and he says, "Remember this face." And then you flash away from that. You come back to present day where you meet Cole Young. And after all that kind of amazing opening sequence, you get this MMA fight where you're meeting the main protagonist of this movie, really. And you find out he's this, aging MMA fighter who can't really hack it anymore. And I'm like, first of all, that is a horrible choice for somebody to lead this cast. Somebody who can't even fight anymore. I mean, this is Mortal Kombat, so none of that made sense. To make him a fighter who can't fight. It just, what? So I really didn't like that. That was the first choice that I thought was really, really stupid. And then they're using this character that they've made up to introduce the audience to the Mortal Kombat universe. And I also talked about how they don't need to do that. They have plenty of characters that they could have chosen. Right away we go to Johnny Cage, which is like an obvious fan favorite that wasn't in the movie in the first place. And so you have to ask, well, okay, why didn't they put Johnny Cage in the movie? But also, why couldn't they just pick any number of the 100+ characters you have in the Mortal Kombat universe? There's so many. And so I don't know that I really agreed with that choice either. So during Cole Young's first fight, Jax shows up, and that's because they've obviously seen this guy with his dragon tattoo before. And so Jax is asking him about it, and it's one of those things where they're trying to establish how all these characters are getting their superpowers, and it's through this dragon tattoo that's been passed on through the generations. And if you kill somebody with this dragon tattoo, then it then pops up on you. I really didn't feel like they needed to do that either. I thought that that was another really just unfortunate choice. So Jax, he's kind of following Cole Young, he's tailing him. Sub-Zero is instructed by Shang Tsung to kill anybody with a dragon tattoo. So Sub-Zero shows up and attacks Cole Young and his family at a diner. He kind of creates like a hailstorm, and then Jax rolls up in his car real quick. Cole Young and his family get in. They run back into Sub-Zero on another street, and so Jax gets out. He tells Cole Young to get his family to safety and tells him to find Sonya Blade. And then there's the fight between Jax and Sub-Zero. And this was a really, really, really good fight. Like, I really loved it because it really exemplifies, like, there was one point during this fight where Jax says something like to the extent of, "I did 6 tours, motherfucker," something like that. And he just got annihilated by Sub-Zero. Like, and I really love that because it shows, like, you know, a normal person has zero chance against somebody with abilities like Sub-Zero. It wouldn't even make sense. It's completely overpowering. So I really love that they did that. I thought that was a really good, natural, nice touch. At the end of that fight, Sub-Zero freezes Jax's arms and they explode, and then he just drops him down a couple of stories in this building. So then Cole finds Sonya, and this is where we meet Kano, because Kano is Sonya's captive. The dude is funny right off the bat, like literally right off the bat. This dude is hilarious. Josh Lawson absolutely killed it, man. He is absolutely the comedy relief in this movie, and it worked. The comedy hit just about every time, and there was a lot of it, and it all came from Kano. So during this first meeting, Shang Tsung had set Reptile to go face anybody with the dragon marking, and so Reptile shows up to kill off Cole Young and Kano because they both have the marking. So it was a really cool fight sequence there. They have this big CGI lizard style reptile. Some people would rather have the man ninja form. This was cool. I actually liked the art behind Reptile. I thought it was very, very cool looking. And he had a lot of Reptile moves that they used. The acid spit, the tongue grab, all of that stuff. Like, it worked. At the end, Kano punches Reptile's heart out after getting a knife from Sonya. She stabbed Reptile, and then he just slices him and punches his heart out. Really cool moment. And then they all go to find Raiden's temple. Not exactly willingly at first, but they all agree. And so they go try to find Raiden's temple. Kano says he knows where it is. They meet Liu Kang. They meet Kung Lao. At the same time, Shang Tsung is gathering some troops and telling them to go kill all of Raiden's warriors, you know, all the people, Cole Young, Sonya Blade, all them, before the Mortal Kombat tournament can begin. And this is like the whole concept of the game and the movie. And so it's essentially all of the protagonists trying to learn their powers now. They come to Raiden's temple. They find out that there's this thing called the Arcana, which is a gift from this dragon tattoo that's been passed down. And you have to unlock it. Basically gives you some kind of superpower, and it's different for everybody. And so they're in this temple, and they're training, and they're trying to unlock this Arcana. And that part, like I said, I really don't like. You don't have to explain every little bit of what's happening here. It's Mortal Kombat, it's fantasy. You know, if you look at the Avengers movies, they don't take the time to explain how everybody has their powers. Now, some of them they do, but not all of them. So I just feel like, you know, we've kind of come to the point where we can kind of accept stuff like that. They finally decide that they're going to fight back, because what happens is Shang Tsung starts getting some troops together. So he gets Molina, he gets Kano, or no, I'm sorry, not Kano, but Cabal, and Reiko. And Reiko was a huge disappointment to me. So they made Reiko this really big, brutish character who was very awkward and clumsy and barely move around. It wasn't good at all. Reiko is actually one of my favorite characters in the franchise, and it's really heading like into deep territory when you're talking about the Mortal Kombat universe. But I actually love Reiko, and he's like this very quick ninja. He's kind of like a Shao Kahn wannabe. He has a helmet, he's shooting stars and stuff. But you know, he's not what they created. And I get that there's going to be differences in the movie, and not everybody's going to love everything they do, every creative choice that they make. But considering that was one of my personal favorites and they just butchered him, I was like, no, missed me on that one. So that is what it is. But at any rate, Cole Young is having a hard time unlocking his Arcana, so Raiden just sends him home. Shang Tsung then sends Cabal to talk to Kano so that Kano would turn on everybody and allow them to get past this force field that Raiden had set up to block Shang Tsung's fighters from getting to them while they're training. So that's what Kano does. He drops his force field and now the fight is on. So there's this big fight. Goro comes to our world. He goes to fight Cole Young at his house. So there's this really big fight between Cole and this huge CGI Goro, which actually didn't look bad. And at the end of the day, there was a moment where it looked like Goro was gonna like rip Cole Young in half or something. And Cole Young's wife grabs an axe, slams it into Goro's side, cuts him open. Goro goes after his family, which unlocks Cole's Arcana, which is literally plot armor. It's this like second skin suit that absorbs impact and like spreads the energy out, so he can, almost like Black Panther's kinetic suit, something like that. And it was too convenient, honestly, because I mean that essentially he can't get hurt anymore. So he attacks Goro, breaks his arm. They keep going at it. Winds up cutting off Goro's hand and slicing him all the way up his midsection. And because his suit, when he took a huge impact from Goro, sprouted like a baton and some kind of blade, and that's what he was using to attack Goro with. And then he impaled Goro with the baton through the head. Goro dies. And for anybody who plays the game, like, Goro's one of the big bads in the game. He's like the sub-boss of the original game. And he's like super powerful. And they really gave Goro no love in here at all. Like, it was straight, they made Goro bitch. Like, for real. So I didn't like that part either. That to me just hurt. Like, all of this build up for Goro 2, and he turns out to be nothing. Shang Tsung, during the attack, winds up killing Kung Lao. And so Raiden takes his fighters into this void. It's where Shang Tsung can't get to them. Very convenient. And this is where you get some horrible writing for Cole Young's character. Liu Kang said something about, like, without Kung Lao it's over. And then you get some massive one-liners like, no, it's not over. We have to fight. We have to fight smarter. It was terrible writing. Like, whoever wrote this, just fire him now. Just get him out. It was bad. So they decide to create a small tournament before the actual tournament, where now the protagonists are going after the antagonists. You have Jax taking out Reiko, which was a very short and very terrible fight, but it ended in Jax's head smash fatality. That was pretty cool. Natara was here. She tried to attack Kung Lao right before he got his soul sucked out from Shang Tsung, and that was pretty much the most gruesome fatality in the whole movie. Kung Lao uses his spinning hat and like literally flies her right into the hat, cuts her in half. It was pretty gruesome. It was good stuff though. But for the rest of the tournament, you had Sonya fighting Kano, which was really disappointing because you knew she was going to kill Kano, and he'd been the best part of this movie. Like, Kano was amazing. So to see him die actually kind of sucked. You had Molina taking on Cole Young. Sonya comes back with her dragon tattoo after she kills Kano, and now she's got her like little wrist blast thing, and she blows a hole right through Molina. Liu Kang fights Cabal, and Great scene where he gets Cabal stuck in like this oil pit or whatever it was, and makes this huge fire dragon and comes down and sets Kano on fire. How appropriate. If you know anything about Kano, he was set on fire. So you get all of that, and then finally Sub-Zero goes and kidnaps Cole Young's family. Sub-Zero shows him his daughter's bracelet as they're kind of ending this fight. So Cole Young runs after Sub-Zero and he goes through a portal. So now it's just Cole Young and Bihan Sub-Zero. So you get a little bit of a fight there before Cole Young pulls out a blade that belonged to Scorpion, and then Sub-Zero's like Bihan's blade, and then out comes Scorpion out of nowhere. Gets his little chain spear, and that's where you get the get over here line. He pulls Scorpion back, and then a really great fight ensues. Like, really great fight where it's kind of Scorpion and Sub-Zero for the most part. At the end, it's Cole Young Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. The thing I didn't like about that is they actually, I mean, really, they gave Cole Young the kill because he's trying to save his family. They're kind of enclosed in this ice enclosure. And then Sub-Zero comes up to attack him, and then he uses the blade that his suit had made and sticks Sub-Zero in the chest with it. So really, that's the end of Sub-Zero. At the end, Scorpion takes his mask off. He does a little fire breath thing, burns Sub-Zero up. And then Shang Tsung, at the end, he says, "You killed my fighters, you think you've won, but death is just a portal, so we'll see what happens there." But they had a good setup for a part 2, especially sending Cole Young to Hollywood to go find Johnny Cage. But some of the stuff in the middle of the movie, I gotta tell you, it was pretty rough. It really was. I wasn't a big fan of some of the stuff they did. Great beginning, great ending. They had some great moments in the middle. They had some not so great moments in the middle. It did give me a lot of hope for this franchise, and you can see the potential that they have, because despite the bad parts, I actually thoroughly enjoyed myself with this movie. Being a fan of MK like I am, I was going to enjoy it no matter how bad it was. But this actually had some really good stuff to it. And I think a lot of that is thanks to Sonata and Taslim and Lawson. Like, those three really made this movie. I thought Sonya was okay. Jessica McNamee, or whatever her name is, I feel like she did fine. Brooks did fine. The whole Liu Kang thing, like, I'm used to the original Liu Kang, and it didn't work. Now, I will say that the two worst parts of the movie for me, personally, Raiden and Shang Tsung, and that's a problem. And honestly, I don't even think that it was the fault of the actors. Asano is pretty good, and Han's pretty good. But, you know, when you compare them to Christopher Lambert and Cary Tagawa, who played the original Raiden and Shang Tsung respectively, the performances pale in comparison. Like, they killed those roles. Cary Tagawa as Shang Tsung, you cannot get better casting. I'm sorry, you can't. He was perfect for it. So it's really unfortunate what we got, especially with Shang Tsung. I just didn't like I didn't like the look. I didn't like the demeanor. Nothing about it worked for me. So that's an issue. That's an issue they have to work on, especially the look. Honestly, I think the look for Shang Tsung was terrible. Other than that, though, I really did enjoy this. I thought the choreography and the fight scenes were amazing. The fatalities were over the top. They're exactly what they should have been. I think some of the actual fighting in between could have been a little bit more hard-hitting and aggressive, but I'll let them slide on that one because, like, some of the fighting actually looked very hard-hitting, especially at the beginning. So I gave this a 7 out of 10. I think I'm going to stick with that. There were definite problems with that, and I'm being easy on this movie. But like I said, with the potential that I see here, I'm very happy. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Cage Nation out.